welcome to UPN Focus. I'm your host, Milt Thompson. Today we're going to explore the exciting world of the big screen, as in film and film writing, production, all of that good, exciting stuff, with our very special guest, Bradley K. Sims. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it, Bradley K. Sims. How you doing? Welcome to our show.
I'm doing okay, thanks.
And Jerald Harkness.
Milt, my man.
Jerald.
Thanks for having us, man. We appreciate it.
Welcome to our show.
Thanks.
Visionary Productions. Jerald, tell us a little bit about Visionary Productions, being your vision, how you got started into the wonderful world of filmmaking.
Where to begin on that? I've always wanted to do filmmaking since the day my dad took me to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind when I was in third grade, and I was like, oh man, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And went to IU Film School and graduated, did a documentary called Step In, which I think the two of you are familiar with, and met you, actually. A gentleman named Chris Duffy put us together, and I'll never forget, you said, hey, you should be a filmmaker as a regular job. And I was like, yeah, right, like we can do that here in Indianapolis. And we looked up, hooking up with, at the time, the Indianapolis Recorder started Visionary. And then Brad and I met through a project that we did with Indiana Black Expo, I believe.
Right, the Marion County Health Department.
That's right. What a memorable project it was as well. Very memorable. Yeah.
And so then came Visionary Productions out of the big screen.
Out of all that, yeah. And we do documentaries, television shows, corporate videos, commercials, everything dealing with video production.
Watch out, Jim and Barry. They're coming over doing television production too. Brad, you say you got together with Jerald, and your primary responsibilities in Visionary are what?
Just about everything. That's kind of the way that we work. I think Jerald and I complement each other very well. It's kind of rare that you get producers and directors and creative types that can work pretty closely together. And any time that we have worked on a project, I think we both take criticism very well, and we both can give it in the spirit that it's meant. So I don't think either one of us' ego is too inflated or our feelings are too fragile that we can't work together. And that was real rare.
Yeah,
when we first hooked up, I mean, we just clicked. And he took my suggestions, I took his suggestions, he understood what I was saying, and it just worked. So,
you know, and not to interrupt, but that's the thing about filmmaking, it's a collaborative effort. A lot of times one person will get all the recognition, but it takes an army to make a film. And it's just great to have great partners like Brad. I mean, I don't want to sound cheesy, but you're almost meant to work with certain people, and I think that's definitely the case with Brad.
Jerald, several very actually critically acclaimed documentaries that are in worldwide circulation, Steppin' and Facing to the Side, Understand. There's another one here that has some historical significance done here in the local community, and that was about the Indiana Recorder project commissioned by the owner of the Recorder, Bill Mays. Tell us a little bit about that project, and maybe we'll actually see a little bit of it.
Yeah, we do have a clip that we can show. It was an honor to work on that project because the Indianapolis Recorder is over 100 years old, and for any institution, let alone an African-American institution, that's quite an accomplishment. And what we did was we chronicled the history of the Indianapolis Recorder, but we also paralleled it with the history of America at that time. So the Recorder newspaper is so significant to the community, and it spans, I think, over 165 years in the documentary itself. So we were really pleased to have it finished, but we were pleased to be honored to be chosen to work on that project.
Well, Brad, shooting a documentary like that, or the Recorder, that really takes back into our roots, if you will, and the history of that, what was the feeling that you had when you were trying to get this on tape, other than maybe the frustrations of retake and retake again?
It was actually it was a difficult but very satisfying project in the fact that it's historical, so you have to get your historical facts correct.
Yeah.
And we were doing that, so we tried to make it so it wasn't such a local project, so it could be shown on a national stage. So that's why we included American history, and then kind of how the Recorder was reporting it, through the eyes of the Indianapolis recorders is kind of how we say it. Right. So what was happening here locally, how the recorder reported on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then how that impacted the African American community and then American history as a whole. So different segments, you have a different feeling because, I mean, we start from the beginning, the end of slavery through present day. So you have the civil rights movement, you have a lot of different things in between that. You have the 70s and you have the 80s, so you have a lot of different things. So really it's a different feeling for each section of the documentary.
Well, did you learn anything in this documentary?
Man, it was like being in school, man. I mean, it's the history of, to say it's just the history of African American people would limit it. I mean, it's literally the history of America through the perspective of the African American newspaper. And yeah, the thing that probably stood out with me is maybe the prominence of the Klan in the 20s. That's probably one of our favorite clips. Not that it's so enjoyable to watch, of course, but
poignant by its impact.
Oh yeah, I mean the Klan was running things in the 20s, and the recorder had this unique ability to survive. I think that's what the documentary is ultimately about: is survival, and to survive the Klan and the Civil Rights Movement and World War II and the Great Depression and other media's coming into play like radio and TV and stuff like that. The recorder has been a survivor, and I think that's what I got the most out of it.
I recall one of your earlier works, well, a couple of your earlier works, in terms of getting credibility instantly, not only for your abilities and skills to get on film, that you utilized superstars, celebrities as your narrators. Tell us a little bit about the relationship with those people and how did you induce them, if you will, to participate on your projects?
The first documentary I did, Steppin', had Michael Warren, who is a former UCLA basketball star, probably best known from Hill Street Blues.
Bobby Hill on Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, and he's on that new show.
Yeah, he's on City of Angels.
City of Angels. And Michael ran into my father, who I guess they played basketball together and know each other through that. And Dad mentioned that we were doing Steppin', and Michael was nice enough to jump on board and narrate that. And then probably the most amazing one was Landon Avery Brooks for the second documentary.
Captain Benjamin Sisko.
Yeah, and just that voice, man. We did a phone patch. He was in L.A., and just when he started reading the script, I was like, wow, that's pretty sweet to have that voice. It's just a tier right under James Earl Jones, in my opinion. Avery's voice is just perfect, and so we're saving up a budget to maybe get you to do the next one.
Yeah, right.
That's what we're hoping.
Keep saving up. Avery Brooks, here I come.
That's right, man. That's right. So, yeah.
Bradley, the technical aspects has changed a lot over the last several years with the change in technology. So. I mean, here we are sitting in a fully digital television studio. How has that impacted your learnings relative to getting things on tape and video?
Well, the one thing is it's a never-ending learning process. You have to stay abreast of the new technology, new things that are going on. What they call nonlinear editing, which is computer-based editing, is the thing that just took everything by storm. Because you can take what you shot last and put it first by the click of a button, instead of fast forwarding all the way to that scene, then recording it and then having to rewind again. You just hit a button and it goes to the front, or it goes to the back, or it goes to the middle. So that is very, very, and it's something different every single day, literally. When you're talking digital video, you're talking new everything. Everything is just different, and it's new, and it's every day. So you have to stay abreast. You have to stay abreast.
What does it impact how you write, or special effects have any bearing upon how you conceive a picture?
A little bit. I think especially with digital cameras now, you have so much flexibility. Beta cams are so heavy, and you're not as flexible with them. But with the digital cameras, they're so light that you can do a lot more camera movement and things of that nature. So yeah, I definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, the technology is it's amazing from what we learned when we were at IU to now. It's incredible.
Well, and one of the things with that is you shoot differently, because we talked about technology is the internet and video for the internet. There's a way to shoot for the internet that's different than how you would shoot for video, for television, or for anything else. So that's very different. There's a special way to shoot it so it looks better on the internet when you do the video streaming. So that's a whole different technique.
Well, the whole thing seems a bit more than just a notion, and I know that many in our audience they're saying, well, you know, I see what's on television, I see what's on film, and no big deal. I ought to be able to do that. Well, what kind of special educational background did either of you have in order to prepare yourself to enter the business world of film?
If you're thinking about being a director, you know, I say why? No, I'm kidding, because it's so crazy and so difficult. But there are a lot of Indianapolis probably has a ways to go as far as having educational opportunities for people to learn. But I would really encourage trying to get internships with either television stations or production companies. The Midwest is pretty good. There's programs in Ohio, programs in Illinois. IU, Ball State, those are really good for television, but for more film background, you might have to go to Ohio and Illinois.
We're going to learn a little bit more about Visionary Productions from our special guests, Jerald Harkness and Brad Sims, right after these short words. Welcome back to UPN Focus. We're talking about the exciting world of the big screen, video and production, documentaries, movies. Brad K. Sims, Jerald Harkness, tell us a little bit about new projects, perhaps that you're working on, whether they be in film and or television or production. Any new projects that we can be looking forward to?
Glad you asked, Milt. Yeah, Brad and I, for the last about year and a half, have been trying to get some original television shows off the ground. And we've done a lot with documentaries and corporate videos and things of that nature, but we're doing something a little bit more daring. We're in the process of developing and producing, from what I know, Indianapolis's first fictional television show, an actual fictional series. And,
some would say this show is fictional, but we're trying.
Oh man, this is the real thing here. So, it's a multitude of challenges, you know, to try to get projects off the ground, and you just have to really stick with it, I guess.
Yeah, and not only with the fictional show, there are a couple of other shows that we want to do for local television because we think that there's room for them. So a lot of different things, a lot of things to highlight Indianapolis and highlight what's going on in Indianapolis. Sports is big in Indianapolis, so to try to tap into that too. So we've got a lot of different ideas. So
I know one of the programs that you produced was on a national level was the Marines of Montford Point.
The Men of Montford Point.
Montford Point, a special project, a lot of historical significance as well. Tell us a little bit about that project, how it came together, and what you believe the results are and will be.
Well, the Men of Montford Point was a very special project. It was an honor to work on it. It was actually the brainchild of Chris Duffy, who is a Marine and had always wanted to do that story. And when I was working in conjunction with NDTV, he executive produced the project. Nora Hyatt produced and wrote the project, and I directed it. And it's just a fascinating tale about what the first African-American Marines went through. I don't know, I can't do it justice. You almost have to see a clip to get the feel for the documentary.
Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to see some of the clip here while we're talking about that in terms of modern day production, television, film, and film writing.
Right.
We were talking a little bit about the educational background necessary to be able to do this and ongoing kinds of educational issues.
Right.
What was your educational background, and tell me how that has anything to do at all, not with the production side of the film, but the business side of film.
Yeah, I probably lacked a little bit in the business background. You know, thank goodness I met you when I did. But my background was primarily film and video. And at going to Indiana University in Bloomington, I was the film and video geek. I mean, I had access to video cameras and things of that nature, and I would teach myself and how to use the camera, how to edit. And even though I was really busy in class, a lot of my extracurricular activities were based around doing my own video projects. And that's the best way to learn, is actually getting out there and doing it yourself, in my opinion. I think, Brad, you were also a telecommunications major.
I was a telecommunications major at IU, and I minored in theater and business, actually. But I actually didn't pay as much attention to the business classes as I
Probably should have. And discovering that.
I think with any business, and it might be more showing something from a creative standpoint, like video production or filmmaking, I think entrepreneurs or people lack that business side, and it's probably the most important side, because it almost doesn't make a difference how talented you are if you don't have the business savvy and sense to be able to survive and pay the bills and get to the next step and get that film financed. It doesn't make a difference. So I think a lot of people, and if I were to give some advice, it's that they would, in conjunction with taking their film classes and television classes and writing classes and all the other things you need to be well-rounded, you have to get those business courses so you understand the numbers, so you understand what's going on, so you can survive.
Yeah, I really think a lot of people, and we get calls weekly about, I want to be a director, I want to make movies, I want to do this, and I think people they see this occupation as a very glamorous occupation. There's glamour to it. You get to go all over the country, you get to meet exciting people, but when you're doing the 20-hour edit sessions, or when you're dealing with clients who don't pay on time, or when you're dealing with legal issues because of rights to footage and things of that nature, I mean, it's really a business. It's not just, there's a reason they call it show business.
We're not doing this here in Los Angeles or really Chicago or New York. Right. We're doing this here in the heartland, right here in Indianapolis. So I expect that there are some peculiar business challenges. What kind of business environment is there, and do we have a supportive film commission or others who are really interested as advocates in your work?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the film community, there's definitely sort of a buzz growing. I think last year there were a lot of independent films made. Yeah, there does seem to be something brewing within the Indianapolis film community. I think because of technology, I think because of the internet, when anybody can go out, make their own movie, put it on get a website and sell it. I think you don't necessarily have to be in LA, Chicago, New York now to make feature films, and hopefully Indianapolis will take advantage of that.
Was the success of an independent film like the Blair Witch Project, does that either inspire you, or does it create more competition, or does it depress you?
No, it doesn't depress you. We were just thinking, man, we could have done that. Man.
I think it inspires you to the fact that it was great to see that happen, and but just like Jerald was saying just a while ago, I get people every day that call me that think just the fact that they have an idea for a video, it gets done. Yeah. And that I think it's a great idea, so I'm going to do it, but it just doesn't work that way. Bills still have to be paid. It still has to be financed. The logistics still have to be worked out. People, I've got a good idea, let's do a video on, and they think that that's all it takes, and that it's just so much more than that. And there's so much more that went into the Blair Witch Project, and them getting it off the ground, and them actually doing it and turn around and sell it. They just hear, oh, they made it for $50,000 and we could have done that. Yeah. Well, where are even you going to get that $50,000 to get it done? So, when you hear that something cost $100 million to make in Hollywood, so they made this for $50,000, you think you can do it? Okay, where are you going to get that $50,000? Yeah. So it's something that I fight every day. I get calls every single day with somebody wanting, to make a video with no money.
Well, we're going to talk in our next segment, hopefully if you're willing to do that, about once you've got it produced and created, how do you get it out to the public, and what are the challenges in doing that? We're going to do that right after we hear from our sponsors here on UPN Focus. Welcome back to UPN Focus. We've been talking about the exciting world of film with Jerald Harkness and Brad Sims of Visionary Productions. We go through the hard work of learning how to master your trade. You work hard at financing, learn a little bit about the business side of that business. You actually go through the shoots and the labors and the learning processes there, and you have this final product. And you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time and energy to get the final product. What do you do with it then?
Yeah, that's the big question. Distribution is probably one of the most challenging things to a filmmaker. And when I finished my first documentary, Steppin', I'll never forget, I went to New York with about 25 flyers trying to sell it, and went to this filmmakers market, and man, it was just the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was just a multitude of filmmakers from all over the world. At least 200 films were there. And I was like, wow, you know, I'm here thinking in Indianapolis, I'm the only one making movies, and everyone's doing it. So distribution is very, very competitive. Probably the best thing to do is really get a feel for the rights that are available for each project. There's things called non-theatrical rights and educational rights, which our projects tend to do pretty well with. There's also broadcast rights, there's home video rights, there's soon to be electronic rights dealing with the internet. So there's a lot of different things you can sell for each project, and you should probably get an entertainment lawyer. That's what I would recommend first. And after that, start sending out tapes to different buyers and see what happens.
Any advice there, Brad?
He pretty much hit it. It is probably the most difficult thing because you can have the best project, but if no one sees it, it doesn't do you any good. So trust me when I say I've got a few things sitting on the shelf right now. But you've got to have somebody that is interested.
What's four-walling mean, Jerald?
What does what mean?
Four-walling.
I have no idea.
You have no idea what four-walling is?
No.
I see we're going to have an education right here. I thought that was something you taught me. Four-wall means you do your own production in terms of distribution.
See, you know, Milt, that's why I'm with you, man, because you know stuff I don't even know. Here, I'm supposed to be the guest and know all this, and Milt's teaching me things.
Well, you know, in this business, though, when you look at the major film houses and how they've spent
thing.
so
Right.
much money
Right.
in terms of the producing their large feature films,
Right.
that I think it has been providing more opportunity for independent filmmakers. So what do you do in terms of nurturing relationships with the major film houses relative to having some independent films distributed in that
It's
way?
just like what Brad said. You got to get your work seen. I mean, you got to hit the film festivals. You got to hit the filmmaker markets. Hopefully, if you win a few festivals, you can attract distributors to your work that way. There's plenty of catalogs out there of different buyers where you could write letters to accompany your work to directors of acquisitions and things of that nature. There's a lot of people hungry for programming, and cable's expanding so much that there's a great demand for programming, but it's just, you know, trying to make that first step in there with a good distribution company is the key.
As with anything, it's getting that foot in the door. You know, with cable, with the internet, with international sales, I mean, the market is out there. I mean, but you still have to get it out there. You still have to get that foot in the door. You have to get that first film, project, video seen by the right people so they can get it to the right places, and that is the key. Sometimes it's just all in who you know from that point. I mean, because I think we've all seen a lot of very bad movies, very bad videos that are out there, but those people knew someone that gave them that chance.
So we've had nothing but good film
Exactly.
from the gentleman from Visionary Productions. Let's see what's going on around our town with this week's community calendar.
Here are some events in our area for you to focus on. Organ donation is critically important to all of the people waiting for a new chance at life. To raise awareness about the need for organ donors, there will be a picnic Sunday, June 25th at Eagle Creek Park. The picnic runs from 2 to 5 p.m. and will take place at Shelter House D. And the 15th Annual Moscow Covered Bridge Festival will take place Friday, June 23rd through Sunday, June 25th. Moscow is located in Rush County, just off Interstate 74. There will be crafts, antiques, collectibles, live entertainment, and who could forget the food? Beans and cornbread, chicken and noodles, hog roast, and Amish baked goods. Experience the beautiful scenery and talented artists of Brown County. June 24th and 25th, there will be a studio and garden tour in Nashville, Indiana. For more information, call the Brown County Chamber of Commerce or the Brown County Convention and Visitors Bureau. We want to hear from you. Send your event information 3 weeks in advance to be a part of the UPN 23 community calendar.
And please take advantage of these wonderful opportunities presented on our calendar. I want to thank our very special guests, Brad Sims and Jerald Harkness of Visionary Productions. Really enjoyed having you on our show, and we want to have you right back here next week on UPN Focus.